welcome back to On the Shelf. On the Shelf is a new program that me and my friend Dan has been doing for some time now, reflecting on the films of our childhood. But now we're officially on YouTube. What do you say to that, Dan?
I think it's amazing, guys. Great to be on YouTube. What's up, Chase?
All right, man. All right. I mean, listen, I watched the premiere and everything. That was really cool. And, please like, subscribe, share, because what we want to do is come up in the algorithm. I can't get that episode or our channel onto the TV because we need some subscribers. You know what I mean? So, please help us out because we already loaded the show with some of the backlog of programs, but we also are excited for the new programs that we got coming up, especially on the show Rest Stop, where we're doing TV show breakdowns. So we're doing Stargirl right now, but we're going to start off. We're going to next week. We're going to bring Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and as well as the season 2 of Doom Patrol. So you know what? This is excellent. Because we're going to be bringing in other geeks like ourselves to either join us or, to get these programs going. So this is for you, man. This is for the community. This is for all those geeks who said, I ain't got no friends. Well, let's do it. Okay, I'm talking mainly about myself and Dan.
Well, I don't know about that, but...
All right, Dad. All right. So, as we say up at the top, this is On the Shelf, where we take our favorite films down from off the shelf. And today's theme is what, Dan?
John Carpenter, the director John Carpenter.
All right. This is my favorite. I put this on the list and everything. So, on top, we have the trifecta. What are the main 3 films we're going to be talking about?
Well, today we're going to talk about, of course, the film that made him famous, Halloween.
Yes.
And then The Thing.
Yes.
And then They Live.
Yes.
And just to sort of say that I know we talked about Escape from New York, but because I live in New York, I decided maybe it's a little too close to home right now. So we'll talk about Escape from New York another time, maybe.
I'm pretty sure we'll be dropping in some moments, because Snake Plissken, he will.
Yeah, I do have something to talk about Snake Plissken in a few minutes. But so John Carpenter, let's talk a little bit about him. He grew up in Kentucky. His father was a music teacher. That's where he got all his influence of doing all his own scores, right?
Really?
Yeah. And I think that something kind of pretty unique to most filmmakers is the fact that he's famous for doing his own music.
Yeah, of course he is. I mean, it was didn't he have a band at one point in time? Alan Howarth, I believe, isn't that?
Alan Howarth was the guy. He worked with John Carpenter in helping him do his scores. I don't know if he ever had a band per se.
Well, no, but actually over here in England, there's a big love for John Carpenter, and he has been on a concert tour. It started about 2 or 3 years ago. That he was traveling around doing the scores from his films. And
oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
So he'd be up on the stage with the synthesizers and everything, bro. But maybe that's.
And would they play clips behind him while he's playing?
Yeah. So I mean, that's where I say about Escape from New York or Assault on Precinct 13. The scores are phenomenal, and to watch it as a as a concert, it's really amazing.
Right, and besides the Halloween score, I mean, if you listen to a lot of his scores, they're pretty simple and straightforward, but they're hooky, Yeah. He gets that dun 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 with the themes, with the themes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's why I just said about the synthesizer, because he made it feel simple, because it feels like it's just hey, if I got a Casio, dun, 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 you know what I mean? It feels so simple, but it was iconic because he knew how. As a scorer, he needed some kind of catch, like John Williams did with Jaws, some kind of catch that would, really come up and bite you. See?
Sure. Yeah. I saw that. That.
Go on.
So anyway, and yes, actually, John Carpenter did talk about how, when he would using synths, it kind of he was able to do his own thing, but still get a sort of a big orchestra sound almost, because it kind of does fill up a room, the synthesizer. And
Yeah.
they'll probably being able to layer on it and layer over it as well. He went to USC film school. Did not graduate though. He made a student film called Captain Boyer, which was supposedly rediscovered about 10 years ago, like somewhere in the USC vault. Had elements. Supposedly there were elements that were in that short film that were used in Halloween that he just I don't want to say regurgitated, but reappropriated or reused, right? Themes that he might have had or visual elements, including supposedly the lead actress in that film looked a lot like Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh, well, yeah, well, there we go. She's mine. I gotta have her. Yeah.
Yeah. So he actually was an editor on a short film. Don't have the title here, but he was also the co-writer and the music composer on that won the Best Short Oscar for 1970. He didn't direct it, but he did a lot of the other creative elements of it.
Now, I think I remember when I was investigating him, wasn't he an art director on something?
Well, I think he gets like Dark Star. I think in Dark Star because
Dark Star was his film, but I thought Dark Star was kind of like a student film initially.
It was.
Yeah, okay, but I thought he was an art director on something. I could remember seeing his name and stuff, and Eyes of Laura Mars. He was. Do you remember the Eyes of Laura Mars?
Sure.
With Faye Dunaway, the gorgeous Faye Dunaway, and Tommy Lee Jones, and he was the art director.
No, I think he wrote the script. I don't think he was the art director.
He wrote the script for Eyes of Laura Mars?
I think so.
All right, look that up, Dan. While you're looking that up, let me hit you off with some early John Carpenter. While Dan's looking that up, John also, had a partner, Deborah Hill, and they were
That's right.
writing partners, and and basically they worked together, and they proved that a couple can work together. Most of them can't.
As you laugh.
All right, I'm just saying. I could while you're looking for that, I could tell you I almost lost my virginity on this movie, but
which one? Which movie?
On Halloween. That the first
on Halloween?
one.
I mean, what in the movie theater?
No, I saw it on TV.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were on a date in a movie theater and kept getting.
What is this, Taxi Driver? No. No, it was the beginning of cable. Don't you remember? For New Yorkers, I mean, HBO, and cable had just started, and in '79 and stuff like that, and so we had, Anyway, did you find it?
He did write the screenplay and the story for Eyes of Laura Mars.
Wow.
He also wrote. Yeah, he also, but I think he wrote it with some other people as well. So who else?
Yeah.
I don't think I've actually seen Eyes of Laura Mars in a long, long time.
Oh, dude, it is amazing and great song by Barbara Streisand. Prisoner, whatever. And
interesting. You always have these like other writers that like you see are uncredited, like Mark Crowley, who wrote the play and the screenplay for it. The gay theme film The Boys in the Band in 1970.
Oh, right.
Like he was just Tommy Lee Jones supposedly uncredited. He did all the monologues himself. I mean, they're five. No, for Eyes of Laura Mars. So, but John Carpenter is sort of getting credit as his main writer
yeah. Well, no, I just remember seeing his name in the credits. So maybe I think I maybe misunderstood art director because Ivan Reitman was an art director on Shivers.
He was a storyboard artist uncredited on his own movie, Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah, well, John Carpenter did everything. He wrote the theme music. Anyway.
Right, and also like in a movie and the reality is like a movie's like Dark Star and Assault. Look, Dark Star only cost $60,000. So if you're making a movie that cheap, you're doing everything, right?
Yeah.
You're going
exactly. Yeah.
You're going down to Home Depot with like your art department dude and like picking up the wood, so to make the spaceship. And he wrote Dark Star with who did he write Dark Star with?
I don't know. Deborah Hill?
No, Dan O'Bannon.
Oh, right, the guy who did Farscape.
And Alien.
And Alien. Well, yeah. Well, Ridley Scott takes all the credit for that one. But
Right. And Dark Star supposedly is almost like a lot of stuff of Dark Star went into Alien.
yeah, of course.
And then of course he did Assault on Precinct 13, right?
Which was excellent. So the biggest thing about, well, maybe not the biggest thing, but the coolest thing about Assault on Precinct 13 is that it had the leading man was black, played by Austin Stokes, and this was kind of like the first leading man in this kind of like horror genre since Dwayne Jones in Night of the Living Dead. So like at least like about 10 years later in a way, or 7 or whatever years later. So, and it was the coolest movie ever. Did you ever see it?
I think. Did I see it? I think I saw the remake. There was a remake, right?
Oh yeah, there was a terrible remake. Don't bring it up. I don't like remakes.
I know you don't like remakes. Except for the thing. The thing kind of breaks the mold.
Yeah, it breaks the mold. But
we'll be talking about that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about unrealized projects. And I'm going to spit these out. I know you're going to have comments on every one of them. And these are films that either he was attached to direct, or talked to about directing, or turned down. And
after the success of Halloween, you mean?
Yeah, over the course of his career, and there are many. And this is not even everything. This is just like the highlights. So let's start out like in the early '80s. He was offered, he turned it down. Firestarter.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I think he was going to direct it actually. Yeah, that. Then the Philadelphia Experiment.
Okay, love that one. We covered that in our time travel show. No, we didn't. We
didn't.
Okay,
no,
well, we
briefly talked about it. Yeah, but we briefly talked about it.
Yeah, we did a time travel show. Yeah,
there was a book series by an author named Eric Van Lustenberger in the '80s called The Ninja, and he was attached to direct a modern. It was about a modern day ninja.
Was that like the one that Franco Nero did in Enter the Ninja?
No. They might have done a TV movie about it, but like no.
They have. And stuff.
He was attached. He was attached at one point to direct Santa Claus the movie.
With Kurt Russell.
No. That was the one with like John Lithgow and Dudley Moore, and that was done by the Salkinds in the '80s.
Yeah, the freaking Salkinds, the Terror Twins, even though they're father and son.
Okay. Yeah, but imagine like John Carpenter doing Santa Claus, doing a Christmas movie.
You know what, man? That's just like my class. It's like, do you imagine if this guy did a Christmas movie, and you telling me that John Carpenter almost did?
Yeah, and you know what? It was probably like being like those like sort of your typical producers who have like zero vision. I'm not saying all producers, but a bunch, right? They went like, well, the guy did Halloween.
Yeah, he made money. He made money off of that movie. Nah.
He must be good with holidays.
Oh my God. Actually, unfortunately, I think Halloween did start the holiday serial killer trend.
No, it did. Well, we'll get to Halloween in a minute.
All
it's
right. It's supposed to be a movie.
Okay, well, he turned down Top Gun.
Top Gun. Oh wow.
He turned it down. He turned down The Golden Child.
With Eddie Murphy starring in it?
Yeah.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. Just turned it down. He was attached to do Halloween 4, but it fell apart for him.
Well, he didn't do Halloween 3 though, so
he was going to come back, but then it didn't work out. Okay. He turned down Fatal Attraction.
Wow, he's got a long list of.
He turned down.
Do you think that it was good that he turned these things down? Because it sounds like it.
Well, it might be good for them. It depends. His take on these movies would be different, right?
Yeah, but they were good movies. So I mean, yeah.
Oh, they were successful. He turned down The Exorcist 3.
Okay, that could have used his help.
He was attached to, and it never happened. This actually sounds like a really cool project. He was attached to direct a movie called Shadow Company in the late '80s. That was written by Shane Black about. That was about a group of special forces that were all zombies.
Like a Gen Z zombie nation.
No, that they basically were a bunch of like Marines, I think, who were killed in Vietnam, who all came back from the dead to fight some other evil.
Oh
And I was like,
my
that.
God.
So either that's really awful or that could be really great, depending.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like he was attached to, and it never happened to do a remake of Creature from Black Lagoon.
Thankfully. Well, we
Tombstone.
did get humanoids from the deep though, so hey.
He was attached to direct the Tombstone, that Western, of Kurt Russell. But
Again with Kurt Russell, man. Yeah, we gotta love my Kurt Russell.
now, Ghost. Do you remember the movie Ghost of Mars that he did?
Yeah. Well, I try not to, but yeah.
That was supposed to originally be Escape from Mars with Snake Plissken on Mars. I love that reaction.
Sorry, I almost threw up in my neck. Escape from Mars with Snake Plissken. Please tell me, how does he get there? Do you know? Do you know, please?
No, because the movie became Ghost of Mars.
Oh man, I would love to be in these rooms. I would love to be in these pitch rooms. You know, yeah. So so Snake, right? He hijacks a rocket ship. Or wait,
He sent to a penal
rocket
colony.
ship, and
No, he sent.
inside Snake Plissken is in suspended animation.
No, you know, he sent to a penal colony up there. You know,
A penal colony. Oh my God.
Mars. And then he was attached at one point to do Godzilla.
Snake Plissken was? No.
No.
It might have
Snake Plissken fights Godzilla. No, Snake Plissken fights Godzilla.
It might have been.
Actually, would be funny. Snake Plissken fighting.
Like Bambi versus Godzilla, you know? Snake Plissken versus Godzilla. I watch it.
We might be starting a trend on this one. He was attached to do H2O.
Well, he should have done H2O. You know, that was a travesty. He should have done H2O.
They were talking about in the mid 2000s. He was talking about bringing back and doing a Thing miniseries. That didn't take place in Antarctica. You know.
Well, no, because the Thing would have gotten out.
Yeah.
The body of Charles. Oops, sorry.
He was originally he was originally attached to in the mid 2000s to direct Zombieland.
Oh my God! Is this list getting any shorter?
And I got one more.
One more.
Here's out of the box left field one. He wanted to direct for many years his version of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I wonder how he feels now. You know they're working on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Do you know that?
The first one was a hit, right?
Well, the first one was a hit. I'm just trying to let you know that they have confirmed that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is coming. Probably Sonic the Hedgehog and Tails.
But I know, but you know, when you hear all these
no, it's coming, bro. They worked on.
And we've talked about this before. We will do an episode sometime soon because I actually have a whole book of it of talk about movies that never happened, right? Because it might have to be a two-parter, you know. Because if you think
might have to be another series.
maybe because it's like, you know, you could just sit there like, well, we're joking right here about fucking, you know, Snake Plissken, you know, versus Godzilla, you know, I mean,
or Snake Plissken, Escape from Mars.
I mean, you could just riff on 10 minutes on that shit, like, right?
You will force me to go back and watch Ghosts of Mars, and I'm just gonna look at what character is supposed to be Snake. What, you know, yep. Look at him. He sardonic.
Well, I think it was it Ice Cube? He was the lead in it?
Well, see, I wouldn't doubt that because
I think they turned the character into Ice Cube.
Didn't Ice Cube do Triple X Next Level?
I think so.
You know what I mean? So if Ice Cube could play Vin Diesel, why can't he play Snake Plissken?
Yeah, but he's not really Ice Cube seems to be like in these movies that he's just usually pissed off, and then he'll have a gun in his hand and sort of run down but he's not that physical because he's just probably not that really physical of a guy, and you know, he is not probably in the shape that.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I can't really remember like Ice Cube with a gun in his hand. I mean, because I think that's why I like Next Level, because it was like all the sports motif to the Xander Cage character and everything. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I think he had that self conscious or that social consciousness of like, I'll just be another black man with a gun.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'd rather choose comedy. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I don't
Mm.
know. That's just my thinking.
So Halloween. So Halloween was
Halloween.
Halloween, and you why don't you hum the theme?
The thing.
Come on.
Yeah. So let me
So
wait. Are you gonna start this
yeah, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start with the.
damn you,
We'll
man?
do
You just
fact.
take over the whole thing. Go ahead.
I'm not taking over. We're talking.
No. I'll get it with you, bro.
Yeah. Whoa! What the fuck was that? That was weird.
What?
I don't know. My computer went like wacky for a second.
It was probably saying Chase should start.
Yeah. No. I'll do this here. I'm just like. Hold on.
I like to show off. I like to show off the information that I have in my soul about certain films, and Halloween's one of them.
Well, so Halloween was the idea actually came originally, believe it or not, from the producers, who they wanted
Urban Yablin,
Urban Yablis and the other guy whose name I can't pronounce. Mustafa Kappa, yeah, and I think he was I think he was like the finance guy.
Yeah,
he was.
But
he was the guy with the money.
Yeah,
and so they basically approached. They saw I think Assault on Precinct 13, and they approached John Carpenter. They had an idea of like, oh, we'd like to make an idea about a killer who stalks babysitters. And then
the babysitter moves.
Right, correct. And then even Urban Yablin's had an idea to set it during Halloween. After that, they basically handed it over to John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, who co-wrote the script, right? And
do you not know why he had that idea
of setting in during Halloween?
Yeah.
No, you tell me.
Okay, so because Halloween wasn't the first, as you just said. So basically, there was another movie that came out right before this called Black Christmas.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Because the Black Christmas did,
and they stalked sorority sisters. So the killer, which we never saw, so he was like the faceless killer, who stalked sorority sisters and everything, and he was never caught in the end. So it was kind of like open ended. So somebody goes, "Bing."
Right, but in Black Christmas, was there ever a backstory for the stalker, or is it so? Okay, so that's the big difference here, right? Is that there's this huge there's this big backstory, right? Which we'll get to in a bit. Let's see the movies, and you're right about Black Christmas, and that was the one that helped inspire it. And of course, everything goes back to Psycho, right? On one level, one level or another. But there was such a if you think about it, I mean, there probably were a whole bunch of exploitation movies that I don't know. But if you really think between, say, Psycho, sort of Black Christmas, but until Halloween, there was such a big chasm.
There was never really a stalker film though until Halloween. So that's why some people say that. Well, wait a minute. What about Black Christmas? That was a stalker movie. But then you have to say we didn't see the stalker though.
Oh, I see.
So
okay,
yes, go on.
So that's your get out of jail free card with that one,
pretty much.
Okay,
and but it did launch the whole stalker chain.
Well, of course. I mean, it's been going on for 40 plus years, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, how many films do you think are derivative all the way down to now from Halloween? Hundreds?
Yeah, well, there's not that many holidays in a year, but yeah.
No, but I'm saying even. But I'm just saying within the horror genre, the stalker.
It invented the stalker genre.
Right, correct. So the movie starred Jamie Lee Curtis, who maybe a lot of people nowadays don't know, but she is the daughter of two very famous old school Hollywood stars.
Janet Leigh from Psycho.
Exactly. So there's the connection right there.
Mm-hmm.
And Tony Curtis.
And she also became quintessentially the first scream queen because the first kind of virgin survivor in these movies as well.
Sure. And now the Doctor was played by English actor Donald Pleasance,
Mm-hmm.
who was a character actor for many years. And it's just as a quick factoid with him, he was in The Great Escape in the early 1960s.
Okay,
And
I can't wait.
I know. And during World War II, he was in a POW camp with people who were actually in The Great Escape.
Wow. What do you mean,
Yeah.
like the characters or the real people?
No, he was in a different prisoner of war camp, but that he was in that camp with guys, with some of the people who were part of the Great Escape. They end up in that camp that he was in.
Right. Wasn't it like
So,
Stalag 17 or something like that?
that's the movie. That's
Okay,
like
sorry.
that.
All right,
That's.
all right.
I mean, they had a bunch of those camps, but yeah.
All right,
So.
all right.
Anyway, so and then Nick Castle, who went on to direct The Last Starfighter
Mm-hmm.
and other movies, he played what they call the Shape.
Right.
So
wasn't he a stuntman though? Wasn't he?
Well, he was just Michael Myers running around with the mask. Anytime Michael Myers had the mask or the sheet over his head,
Mm-hmm.
looking like a bad Charlie Brown ghost.
Very good.
That was Nick Castle, and they paid him $25 a day to play the Shape. I mean, he was friends from USC with John Carpenter, so it was more like, hey, why don't you come on down and do that, hang out and be the Shape for me. And so Nick Castle did it, and then at the end, when the mask gets pulled off, that actor is a guy named, where is his name here? I wrote it down.
Wasn't it?
Okay, he was the brother of. His name was Tony Moran, and he was Erin Moran's brother.
Oh my God, the brother Aaron Moran from Happy Days. Oh my God! Now I can see it in his face. The image comes up and everything.
Yeah,
that is a mad pull, Dan. Congratulations, that is a mad pull.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, he really pretty much didn't have much of a career. He was in Halloween 2. He did well. No, they took the clip from that and put him in Halloween 2. But he pretty much had no real acting career after that. He became a mortgage.
Really?
He became a mortgage broker when he was 30. But he goes to conventions all the time. And does the autographs because, like, hey,
did you do this?
Because he was Michael Myers for 5 seconds in the original thing. Well, that's enough for people to shell over their $100 a pop, right?
That is mad.
And then Michael Myers was played by. There was a kid who played him, but I don't know who that kid was. I didn't really look him up. So in theory, I guess Michael Myers was played by 3 people in the first film.
Wow.
Right? Well, in theory, John Carpenter was paid $10,000 for the whole, all in.
What?
But he got 10% of the profits. So hopefully.
Well, that's like if they made the movie for $100,000, right?
300. It was like $300,000, I think. Halloween.
Well, that's not 10%, bro.
No. I'm saying he got paid $10,000 up front, but he got 10% of the profits after the movie came out. And the movie grossed like $70 million at the box office. So I think he did quite well. The script took 2 to 3 weeks to write, depending on what source you read to. Laurie Strode's name was a name of John Carpenter's old girlfriend from high school.
And was it Michael Myers somebody's name or something like that? I
don't know who the name came from, but
it did. It was inspired by somebody he knew. I can't remember who it was and everything. But
the character, the backstory of Michael Myers, actually, the shell of the character actually was based on a trip he took to a mental institution when he was in college in Kentucky. He remembers going into some room and seeing a kid just staring blankly at a wall. And so he remembered that. He took that as an inspiration for the backstory. As far as casting is concerned, Dr. Loomis, they originally approached Peter Cushing, and he was too much money. And then Christopher Lee, too much money.
Well, they went after the greats, didn't they?
Yeah. And then I guess there was the boyfriend, who got killed with the girlfriend in the house.
Yeah.
So that was Dennis Quaid.
That wasn't Dennis Quaid.
That was supposed to be Dennis Quaid, but he couldn't do it.
Got rid of
now, I'll do a few more facts and then we'll talk about The Mask. So it was filmed over 20 days in Pasadena and also on a street called Orange Grove Avenue near Hollywood Boulevard. So if anybody out there lives out in LA or ever plans to travel in the future to Los Angeles, you can go onto Orange Grove Avenue near Hollywood Boulevard. You could see the two houses are at the end of this movie. You can go visit. I mean, don't walk inside them. They're private property.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you can just go up and down the street and take photos. Now, here's something that's really cool. There were 12. I didn't know this. It was shown on NBC in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
And the film was too short. And so they had to actually film when they filmed Halloween 2, while they were filming Halloween 2, NBC paid for them at the same time to film 12 extra minutes of scenes that they could slip in to bring it to time for commercials. So on the NBC version, there's 12 more minutes.
Wow. The secret 12 lost tape of Halloween, an extra 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
Trying to think.
So more scenes at the mental institution.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, a few more scenes of that, and some extra I think character development scene with Laurie Strode. You know,
Well,
but
they got her back.
They got her back, and they got her.
She looked strange in Halloween too, because I heard that they had to give her a wig or something.
She had cut her hair, and so then what they did supposedly for the scenes in Halloween 1 that they reshot, they had a scene of her coming out of the shower or something with a towel on her head to cover up the fact that she cut her hair.
God, and what, did she answer the phone or something?
Something like that, maybe, I don't know, but So okay, so now let's talk about, because I know you know the story, I'm sure, the Mask.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about The Mask.
Thanks, Dan, for taking everything and handing me a little treat. Okay,
you were talking through everything.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I had points. No, all right. So The Mask. So pretty much what it was is that the makeup artist, whatever, had gone to look for the mask and everything, and went to the shop. And it was actually, I think, it was supposedly the shop that got robbed. In the scene, where the cop was talking to them. But anyway, they went to get a mask from the shop, and the only thing they could find was like a William Shatner mask, Captain Kirk.
Right.
And what they did was they just painted it white, ghostly white, took out the eyes and everything like that, and they used that as the mask and everything. And it's what's cool about it is that I think you could kind of really tell, like in the phone scene, like as you talked about, the Charlie Brown sheet over his head.
Mm-hmm.
When the sheet is pulled off of his head and he picks up the phone, and that close up, you could kind of see the detail of William Shatner's face, I think. In that one, you could kind of like, yeah, I could buy that as William Shatner, and everything else like that. But it was one of those like lucky accidents. I don't know what happened with the other masks that they initially had, but it's like, go get me a mask. You know what I mean? It's like, that during your PA days, hey, send them out, go get a mask. And they come back with William Shatner. What the hell? You're fired. I think I could do something with that. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think, I mean, like what I had wanted to say was like what you you said I had spoke about the babysitter murders, and really kind of like running and gunning it. This was a very like small guerrilla crew. You know what I mean? Working nights and everything. And it was very lean, lean script wise, because he wanted. I mean, we're talking about, even though he did Assault on Precinct 13 and Dark Star and stuff like that, this was like, to Carpenter, this was like my movie. This is going to be my masterpiece. And actually, it was his linchpin film. But if you notice, there's no blood in this movie.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
You know what I mean? He was really going for suspense. You know, he was really going for that, which is films of his childhood, to just kind of like have this kind of like slow build suspense. But I mean, you know, you had the kills, like, you know, like PJ Souls or the boyfriend was, you know, staked up against the wall and
Mhm.
everything. But Carpenter loved his actors too. He had a little small troupe of actors. What was her name? Nancy Cyphers was her name,
Mhm.
or and no, I don't think it was Nancy Cyphers, but the girl, the other babysitter girl. It took a long time to kill her, and that's rare. I mean, or it gotten
Mhm.
rare as films went on. You know, he gave her a lot of screen time, and there was a lot of what you call those double shock moments. You know, like, okay, I'm gonna shock him, and then nothing's gonna happen, and then I'm gonna do something else. Like when she's in the laundry room and she's stuck in the laundry room and she's, you know, Michael, we could see him outside the window and everything, and for some reason he doesn't kill her there, you
Mhm.
know, and that was kind of curious because, you know, it's kind of like that thing of don't kill kids or don't hurt kids. You know, we had two little kids in this movie, Tommy
Mhm.
and Lindsay, and who actually, what you just said about Halloween, the next trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, was kind of like we see the grown up versions of Tommy and Lindsay. So the survivor kids still encounter Michael when they grew up, and Tommy was played by Paul Rudd, by the way. You know what I mean? So. Yeah.
So I think I was watching this film, and it seems to be sort of counterpoint to like what a lot of times they talk about in screenwriting class and, you know, developing screenplays in general about characterization. Reality is like there really isn't much in the way of characterization here, right? I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
these characters are not developed almost at all. Maybe Michael Myers has a backstory, but that's because he was 6 years old and killed. He went crazy, and then he's in a mental institution, and then you
But
have the
there is no backstory to that really, because that's why they tried to create it as they went on. Like they tried to create it in Halloween 2 with the story of Sam Hain, and that really
Mhm.
doesn't mean anything. The possibility that they're brother and sister, and then you're like, where did that come from? It's kind of like, I think it could have been one of those reshot scenes you're talking about, like where the mom says, "You're not my daughter," you know, in a flashback, you know,
Mhm.
or the dad, you know, telling her about the keys. That sounds like part of those reshoot scenes you said that they added, but there
But
was
my
really no story here.
but my I guess my point is that it's a testament to John Carpenter as a director,
Or a
is that
visualist.
visualist is that look how successful this movie is without any real characterization. It's pretty amazing, you
Well,
know.
see that. I mean, it is the art of cinema, right? So, I
Sure,
mean, like in that aspect is that a movie should be, it should hit you at the feels, and like
I agree with that.
every filmmaker who especially making horror films should focus on this movie, because it's kind of like, this doesn't mean do a film without a script. I think a lot of them get that twisted. I think a lot of student filmmakers look at this film and say, hey, he didn't work on no script.
Oh no,
You
no, no,
know?
no. There's real structure here. I mean,
No,
there's
no,
really good
I know, but
structure.
that's what I mean. I think they
Like he
get it
knew
twisted.
exactly when it hits, and also the body count's not that high. Today it'd
Yeah.
be fucking 30 bodies,
Right.
you know.
And blood. And
And
blood.
blood, and Michael Myers be picking people up and throwing them through the air, and but be split in two, right? I mean, all that kind of shit.
And the thing about it is the fact that that's what I'm trying to say is like, I mean, the only thing that he had with this film was titillation, which was
Mm.
already common in films at that time period anyway. You know, I mean, you know, like you got like, you know, two bare breast scenes and everything, and but then you also have the fact that it's the babysitter murder, so it's like, yeah, all right, so
So
it's
if this movie came out today, but exactly this way, right? Like low budget and same script, same direction, whatever. Do you think this movie would even be classified today as a horror film, or would it just be a pure thriller film?
Well, see, here you go, bruv. I mean, we talked about Halloween H2O, but then there's also the movie that came out last year, the Halloween movie where Jamie Lee Curtis comes back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again. That would be your example of what they would do today with this film, and would it be successful? Now, supposedly they've already made the sequel to that,
Mm-hmm.
as well as I think there's a third one, you know. So you know, if it's Carpenter, Carpenter could do whatever the heck he wants because he's a stylist, he's a visualist, but other filmmakers need to understand that that's his style. You can't mimic his style and think you're going to create the same thing. That's what I was trying to say. You have to have your own style and then figure out how I can do that, but while working in the bare bones guerrilla filmmaking that he had done. That's what I was trying to say.
So let me ask you also, since this is Halloween, is the first of 11 films that have been made.
Yeah.
Are there any subsequent films that you actually like past this one in the Halloween canon?
To be honest, like I don't know why, but Halloween 2 is my favorite. And I think mainly it's because of the opening. Because the first Halloween was so surprising as a young man, I didn't see, like a film like this, that was open-ended and everything. And I looked forward to the sequel that came like I believe the following year and everything. And I loved the way it opened, like how it just connected. So you could watch the two together. 3, no. 4,
but
5, 6,
Michael Myers wasn't even in 3.
No, you asked me like what.
But I'm saying it's almost like when you look at Halloween 3, it's almost name only.
It is name only, but it's got the best monologue ever. But and I love the ending and everything. But no, I mean, okay, outside of that, I mean, 4, 5, and 6 was kind of like a waste because they wanted to follow the young Jamie becoming the new, whatever stalker, and they gave up on that. They threw that away, and they shouldn't have done that. I loved H2O, believe it or not. I thought H2O was great, and when Jamie came back, but then again, you don't kill her, and Busta Rhymes, Halloween Resurrection. What? You know what I mean? I thought it was cool. It had all the digital cameras and everything.
I know they did Freddy versus Jason, but was there ever talk about Michael Myers like fighting?
No, I mean, I think there was supposed to be a trifecta, but then that never happened. I mean, believe it or not, I watched Freddy versus Jason like last year, and I could watch these movies. They're made to be watched, but if you want to say if they're great, no, but they're made to be watched. You could get through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have anything else to talk about Halloween before we go on to the thing?
No, man. I mean, just the fact that unfortunately, we didn't bother looking at the Rob Zombie versions because why should you? And the new versions are coming, so I look forward to this Halloween.
They're gonna keep coming, man.
Yeah, they're gonna keep coming.
I mean, they'll be Halloween. They'll be up to number 15, 20, 25 when we're old guys. They'll be doing it.
Well, also too is I like saying how I actually shot a version of this film in my class and everything like that. So it's coming to trope. Hey, Chase, did you shoot a version of this? Yes, I did. Big fan. All right.
So we're talking about The Thing now.
Yes.
And The Thing was originally based on a 1938 story by John Campbell called Who Goes There?
Who Goes There?
And it's a remake of a film by Howard Hawks that was done in 1951, The Thing from Another World. And,
James Arness, who played Gunsmoke.
Exactly. Arness was the creature, right? Was he the creature?
Yeah, he was the Thing.
Right. And I think that that film was so well. I think it's just because there's 30 years between them, and you're talking about different styles of filmmaking.
Yeah.
In between 1951 and 81, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the original one, the 51 version?
Well, I mean, James Arness is a giant carrot. It was interesting. Animal, vegetable, mineral man. But no, I think that what was cool about it is that it was a film about isolation, and I love these films where you put people in a room or a barrel, like we
Mm,
talked about it before, like Twilight Zone and everything
sure.
like that. So again, this was all about suspense. So, they didn't do it to the level that John Carpenter did in his movie, but it still was kind of like who is the thing,
Mm,
Um, but it also unfortunately was like, what is the thing? It wasn't just, you
mm.
know what I mean? It was more, it became more like, what is the thing? So, once you see it wasn't really that scary, was it? So
What, the original one?
yeah.
No, I mean, but the films from that era aren't really that scary. You know what I mean? They're
No,
tame.
no, no, I know. It was entertaining. It was
Yeah,
cool.
it was just, it's a sort of a relic of that time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So the first director that was attached to it was Toby Hooper,
I can see that.
and then there was one other director from that era attached. Who could you guess who would it be?
Brian De Palma?
No, John Landis.
I can't see that. I mean, well, obviously, I mean, he would have done American Werewolf by this time, right?
He did, yeah,
So okay, I can see it a little bit, but no,
yeah.
thank God he didn't get it.
But it would have been a bit. It would have been like a passive version. He was a. The one thing about John Landis is like his direction always seemed to me really, really safe. You know.
Yeah, but he's always having like a good time, But I mean, but that being said, Twilight Zone the movie wasn't that bad under his
No,
direction.
it wasn't. It wasn't. Um, so there was a draft originally that they had. Part of it took place underwater.
Oh, interesting. So instead of being in the ice, was the ship underwater?
Well, I think there was just an action sequence that there was what went underwater into the ice at one point or another with the creature.
Oh
You
well,
know,
yeah,
yeah, but they cut it out because it was just too expensive at the time.
and probably too cold.
Too cold. Well, that's the other thing. I think the
I
interesting
mean,
thing
where did
too.
they shoot? Where did they shoot? Because they looked like
Well,
they really were cold.
they shot the exteriors and part of the interiors. They built it in like they shot part in Juneau, Alaska, and in British Columbia.
See, man, that's realism for you. I mean, because you could easily just put some like white powder on people's faces because a lot of them had this kind of like fake kind of snow around mustaches and beards,
Hmm.
But I mean, and I think John probably knew this. Like, these guys need to be freaking cold. They need
Yeah,
to be miserably cold and
yeah.
everything. So, damn.
Now, not all of it. Part of it was shot at Universal Studios, but
No, of
yes.
course, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, like it probably like was maybe some of the outdoor scenes. He wanted the realism of the smoke
And
leaving
some of
out.
the indoor scenes that the parts of the compound were built up there, so
All right,
it
man,
probably was
fight me,
stuff.
bro. Fight me.
No, not fighting. But I'm saying like no, but like they're probably the scenes where they probably would be
Yeah.
going in and out of the place, So
Yeah.
they have to show.
Definitely those.
But now casting. I know you love the casting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So other people besides Kurt Russell that were considered originally: Christopher Walken.
As McCready.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Nick Nolte.
No, but okay.
Sam Shepard.
Getting worse. Getting worse.
Now, Dr. Copper.
As Dr. Copper.
No, Dr.
Oh.
Copper. People that were being considered: Brian Dennehy.
Wow.
Chris Christopherson.
No.
Ed Harris.
No.
Scott Glenn.
Wow.
Now, Childs.
Child.
Okay, this is one that's like Jeffrey Holder.
Oh my God! Oh man, this is a Angola. God no.
You have to explain to the audience who Jeffrey Holder was because they don't know.
I mean, Jeffrey Holger, lovely man. But he was more of a theater performer,
Yeah.
and he was known like for 7-Up commercials. Uh, where he was talking the Angola.
But he was like in To Live and Let Die. No, To Live and Let Die, right?
Yes, as the Haitian. Yes, but I
Like,
think he was in Serpent and the Rainbow.
no,
As
he
well.
wasn't. No,
He wasn't that guy.
I
See, look
just
at
saw it
that. Look at
recently.
that. Me.
Yeah.
I just made a racist comment. Don't ask me anymore about Jeffrey Older.
Is that racist comment? He just
No,
said
no,
he's
no. I
Serpent in the
meant like
Rainbow.
all black people look alike. I just
No, no,
yeah, they
no,
caught me
no,
out
no.
there. No, no.
So yeah, he did all these commercials for Seven Up for years. And,
Yeah.
he had this like deep baritone voice, and he would like laugh, and everybody would, So
He was animated.
yeah, Carl Weathers,
That could have been good.
Bernie Casey,
Wow, that really would have been good.
Ernie Hudson,
No, but I could see how he's on the list.
Keith David. He broke his hand the day before first day of shooting for him.
What, on set or
Just the day he broke his hand, and then they
okay.
had to basically cover, like they had to put a covering on it to mask it, and he had to like hide his like the whole like. So if you go back and you look at the film, you can
He
like.
probably broke his hand on the future fight with Roddy Piper.
No, we'll talk about that soon,
I
huh?
know. I'm just saying though. Yeah. So yeah.
There is an
Was it
alter.
was it like his first role though?
Keith David
Yeah.
ever?
Well, first starring role because he took over that film. Do you know what I mean? But I'm not recalling unless it was some kind of blaxploitation film or whatever. I'm not really recalling him doing anything before that one
Keith David. I mean, I'll just look
and
up his
stuff. I mean,
filmography really quick. So he did a movie called his first. Not pretty much. His first movie was a small uncredited role as
yeah.
club patron in Disco Godfather.
Come on, bro. See, you had to go there. I said okay, blaxploitation, but not a leading role.
Is that is that like one of the last blaxploitation movies of
I
that
wouldn't.
era?
I wouldn't know the number of it, bro. But I'm just saying, But I'm glad he beat out all those other guys. You know what I mean? Because he made that role his.
Sure. Yeah. And he's been in like so many good movies since. It's unbelievable. That guy's awesome. There was an alternative ending.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Go for it.
It was just more upbeat, So
Upbeat. How could it be more upbeat?
I don't know.
Like more survivors,
I think more survivors. The studio was afraid that people would get turned off. They wanted more people to survive.
Right.
The actual creature. So let's talk about the creature. So this guy named Rob Bottin.
Yeah, Rob Bottin, fantastic special effects artist. Yeah.
Do you know how old he was when he worked on this movie?
No.
He was 21.
Oh, so right. So, but he worked a lot afterwards. Then, yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean this has made his career, but he was so young.
Yeah, but was he part of K&B Effects?
No, they didn't exist back then.
Yeah, but I know. But I mean, like, they K&B was the effects people that started out on the Evil Dead, I think, movies. But what I'm trying to say is that it was a combination of their names.
I think it was before.
So was he B?
No. That's Howard Berger.
Okay, well, thanks. Okay, you explained it then. Yeah.
Rob Bottin was his own self. He was just his own guy, and I don't know how he got in so young, but he got in.
I think I remember seeing an interview with him, because you remember Fangoria magazine.
Of course, sure.
So I think I remember seeing an interview with him where he was talking about how he used to be one of them kids who devoured like the back pages of Fangoria, and he used to make his own stuff in his room and all that kind of stuff. And so he built up that skill at a very young age. So it's just kind of like young magicians, you know what I mean?
Right. So he got a jump on it because it was his hobby 10 years before anybody else would.
Exactly.
So he was already like way advanced. He was like at the skill level of a 30-year-old at 20 or 21.
Yeah.
It says that him and his crew spent over a year building all the creatures, and except for the dog, which was partly built and operated by Stan Winston. And that it took 50 people to operate the Blair Thing puppet. Yeah.
Wow. Did they call it a puppet? I would call it a machine. But
However you want to reference it. I mean, the thing is, like, everybody forgets, like, back then it was all practical effects, right?
oh hell yeah. I mean, I mean now this puppet you're talking about, I think the actor's name is Dick O'Halloran. You're talking about when the doc puts his hand in, loses his hands, and then the head, falls over, slides
So
down.
the way they were able to get the operate is that they got a double amputee to, like, operate
I
them.
heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the WMT be able to yeah, get it. It's like, ah. But then, so the head spreads out and creates like spider legs, and then
Mhm.
that guy goes, "You got to be."
Yeah. Well, that was all. I think that was all stop motion, right? You know.
Yeah. But it was just the line is it was perfect.
And the thing is, like, when you look at all these puppets, right, or these animatronic creatures, I don't care, like, what kind of CG you do. There's nothing that really like when you do it really, really well, like they do in this movie. Nothing looks like it,
Yeah,
because it's fucking real,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I think everybody now is so used to CG, right? Like,
Mm.
and the problem with CG sometimes is, as good as it is, sometimes, like, if they could, if they don't get the shading right, or the lighting right.
Well, it's not just that. It's the stagecraft, isn't it? So I
Hmm.
mean, like I've been watching that Disney Plus gallery series on the Mandalorian, and like
Yep. So
without the actors being able to really understand by physically being shown what they're reacting to, you're only going to get but so much out of that actor. I mean, some of them are good enough to actually give it to you, even though they're reacting to a tennis ball. But if you give them a freaking creature, they will react to that creature. You know
sure.
what I mean? So that's why, when digital effects took over the horror movies for a time, the unreality had gone out the window because we was used to already watching, slasher movies and blood and gore and all this kind of stuff. But then now you're saying, hey, I'm reacting to a tennis ball and I'm supposed to be afraid and I'm supposed to sell this, and they didn't. The first ones like House on Haunted Hill with Tay Diggs, the first movies that started doing the CGI killer,
Mhm.
it just was horrible.
Yeah, and actors hate it, and you
Yeah.
could tell how bad the performances, they get really bad, and the CG could, especially back, like, in the night, CG in the '90s just looked horrible, right?
Well, yeah, but that's what I was just saying. But that's why I just thought like the actor who played the helicopter pilot who reacted to the spider on two levels is that an amazing scene, right? One level is that it's a really funny ass line and he's reacting to nothing. Yeah.
Hmm.
But the other level is that he is also the thing. So he knows what that is when he sees it. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, it's kind of like, oh man, and stuff because he's the first one who's been revealed as the thing. Is he? Because he was the first one that was revealed to us, the audience. That was the thing. So he's reacting to himself, playing that I'm scared of myself.
Hmm.
And so that was really some good double blind. Now you could say that he wasn't the thing at that moment. You could say that, but I like to think that he was.
So did you see this in the movies?
Of course, I saw it in the movies. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you might have seen it first time on TV.
Well, nah, bro. I mean, no, I saw it in the pictures, man. I used to go to movies by myself. Thanks for bringing that up.
I go to the movies all the time by
No,
myself,
but I
but
mean, no, I mean, like when I was in high school, I mean, like that's all. I mean, like I told you, my mom took me to pictures, and then I was going to the pictures on my own with my brother, my friends, and whatever and stuff like that. But mainly in my high school years, I was like looking for the next movie theater to go to, and everything because I went that
I
much.
mean, do you remember your reaction when you saw this movie in the theater?
I mean, it wasn't one of those jump out scare movies, but that scene with the head
Mm.
splitting down out of the body and the arms being chopped off. Of course, I'm like, of course, I'm freaking out and everything, but that's why that bit of humor in that moment was really good
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, and it was a very suspenseful film and everything. This was the thing. It was well made, it was well crafted. And let's talk about like the puzzle of this film, because like I just said, that was the helicopter pilot the thing at this point, so what we have is we have this bioorganism that these guys find out in the ice, right? And they bring it back to their camp. Now they're in Alaska and everything like that, and they bring this, pretty much this huge coffin back and everything, and it slowly you wouldn't call it dissolve, defrosts and everything, so as it's defrosting, each particle or cell of his being becomes another being. So like once it takes over someone, it absorbs them, like it devours them from the inside out. Like when we saw that guy, the bald guy, get it, you know what I mean, in that room. But what was great is that you had a great sullen character, hero, like in Kurt Russell, McCready, who had his own crow's nest. He had his own room and stuff while everybody had to sleep in the barracks. It's kind of like, I don't know how he got that, but he probably got it because, hey, I'm the pilot, so fuck you. Right? And so so first the thing, there's a dog, right? That was being chased by another helicopter, which is supposed to be the Norwegians. Now, this is the thing that disappointed me, reminded me to come back to it about the Thing remake. So anyway, so he's chasing the dog. So it's just a dog. So Richard Mazer, who we talked about when we talked about it, like he's in charge of the other sleigh dogs that they got. So is he the first one taking over? Yeah. And so we see these guys, we're introduced to them and everything else like that, and I think the difference in this movie, or am I thinking about Ice Station Zero? Either the Thing from Another World or Ice Station Zero had a female, right, in the group and everything, because it's kind of like, come on, man, but it's also kind of like, come on, man, what's gonna happen, right? So you got a camp full of guys in the cold. Anyway, so when they realize that, like, they see the dog turn into the Thing and everything else like that, that's when they start to think that, hey, wait a minute, this thing can take us over and everything. So I love that scene where they're all around the campfire, where they're burning, on the remains of the dog thing, and like, they're all masked, kind of like we are now in the coronavirus. And Kurt Russell's talking about, I know I'm human, and I don't know who else is human, but you wouldn't all be human. I wouldn't be able to survive if some of you were taken over.
Sure.
Right? So it's kind of like the organism doesn't even know, right? So that's why, again, the helicopter pilot could have said, hey, you got to be fucking kidding, because they don't have to know. It's all about each one wants to survive. They don't like, hey, let's band together, like zombies and stuff. I'm all for my own personal survival, which is like, who doesn't understand that kind of story?
Of course.
So this kind of puzzle that Carpenter put together was, to me, one of the most expert kind of puzzles and thrilling suspense films that he's ever done, and hasn't really matched that same kind of intensity again. You know what I mean? And so of course they all become the body count one by one, whatever. But it's like, who do you trust? And they do very well, like with the blood in a dish, petri dish. It's like they all have to force to watch if their blood reacts and everything. And that was truly tense and comical, and everything. And then when they all try to betray McCready, when they like cut the rope and like he has to crawl back by himself and everything, and he's half frozen in the room, that was killer movie. What about you, Dan?
Well, I think no, I mean, I've always loved this movie. I think for everything that you're saying, that the isolation, seeing these people sort of pit against each other, right? And it's interesting, like nowadays, obviously, what's going on in the world is that you see like that movie is almost like a microcosm of like what's going on now, right? Is that like now that people are like like especially in the United States, that they're like whether you're on the left side or the right side, or even everything when it comes to all the racial tensions, everything has been sort of like activated by this fucking virus, right? The best and the worst of humanity is coming out.
Yeah.
And that's all in the thing, right? It's the same stuff, because that thing basically takes over everybody like a virus.
Well, it's kind of like you could have the social distance horror movie. How do I know I can trust you? You were out on the street. Why should I let you in my house? Don't breathe on me.
Exactly. So we're all like living through this horror movie now, and it's sort of like, and then you're walking around the street like, who has it? Who doesn't have it? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, before we go on to the next one, let's just talk about that ending, because when you just said about the alternative ending, because I got to tell you, there's a lot of videos and analysis on that ending. So I'm gonna ask you the question: was Kurt Russell the Thing?
I don't know.
No, I said I'm going to speculation, Dan.
No, he wasn't.
Was Charles the Thing?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to hear what you say. You tell me.
Okay. So there's supposed to be a video, right, where they speculate is that was Kurt or was Charles the Thing in that final sequence, and Kurt Russell says that great ending line of, "Well, I think we're both tired, but we had plenty of time to figure this out," and he offers him the drink, right? So if you look at that scene again, smoke comes from Kurt Russell's mouth, but it doesn't come from Charles.
Ah, okay.
Right? So they're supposed to be frozen, right? They're supposed to be, hey, so stay warm, take a drink. So if you take this warm drink, then smoke should come from your mouth. So when Kurt hands him the drink, he's looking at him and he tastes the drink, but no smoke comes out. Dun, 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 dun.
Very good.
And stuff. So I mean, yeah, well, I'm just saying, So anyway, moving on.
So we're now going to finish off with They Live.
Yep. So I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Yeah.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
So that movie was made in 1988. Came out that year, starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. And again, Keith David. It was originally from a short story called 8 o'clock in the Morning. It was written in early 1960s, and by a guy named Ray Nelson, who was a lifelong friend of Philip K. Dick.
Wow.
Yeah. The screenwriter Frank Armitage is John Carpenter.
Oh, is it now? So
yeah.
Why did he do that?
Because he took the last name of he basically said because the script had so many different influences on it, like different places that influenced him, that he decided to like just take the last name Armitage from a character from an H.P. Lovecraft story as an homage. It was shot for 8 weeks in downtown LA for $3 million. It took 3 weeks to rehearse the fight scene. That went on for like 6-7 minutes, or maybe longer.
That was brutal realism.
Yes. There was a proposed remake by Matt Reeves, in 2011, but he was going to ditch all the political stuff. All the slogan, everything that the movie's about, kind of, that thematically, Matt Reeves was going to jettison.
Now check this out, right? Interruption. So 88, I was working in one of my first jobs in a TV station down, where was this? Like down on like 27th Street, the National studio, right?
Sure.
Do you remember the National studio?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was working in the editing department. but wasn't as an editor. It was the library. I was working with the Constitution, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so John Carpenter came in to do an interview about this movie. And
Really?
stuff.
Wow.
Well, not for me, but for this TV
No, I know.
show. Anyway, so that's when thoughts changed a little bit because he really in real life is very political, very anti-establishment, very anti-Republican and all that. So he was saying this movie is all about my hate of all these people, the money crunchers and all these kind of people and everything. And so it was a very Republican villain slant where it should have just been aliens. So I could understand why Matt Reeves says I'm going to do that. But anyway, so that was my experience with John Carpenter and Data. Go ahead.
Well, it was it was very anti-Reagan at the time, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a big sort of like shout out against like consumerism and stuff like that. And I guess there's always been like these. Well, I know that there's an artist named Shepard Fairey. Or Shepard Farley. He's the guy who did the famous Obama poster.
Oh yeah, that red and white one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was started as a street artist, and so one of the things that he used to do on the street back, in the 15, 20 years ago was obey. He took the obey slogan that's in the movie.
Oh yeah.
So those slogans and They Live, it was a big influence on this guy, and but I think the movie obviously likes to purport that like, hey, there's all these subliminal messages and advertising and propaganda out there to make us all be these sort of like consumers of everything, got to buy this. But I guess I was wondering, like, what's your sort of take on that whole sort of, I don't know whether it would be a conspiracy theory or a theory that yes, there are all these subliminal messages in advertising and marketing out there to make us all.
Well, yeah. First of all, I did take an advertising course about subliminal seduction, and it is true, and everything like that. So I understand where he was coming from. I thought it was somewhat genius, consume, obey, and all of that other kind of stuff, but and lulling people to sleep. But then also too is that there's an interesting bent on this story where you kind of go, he's so politically left that it's like, it's strange because, there's a lot of black people in this movie that aren't good enough to be aliens. Do you get me? So it's kind of like from the newsstand guy to the blind preacher to even Keith David, right? It's kind of like the black people aren't good enough to, be a part of what's going on. That has so the poor people that he wanted all around the city, he said, well, no, I'm gonna have the white poor, so you're the white poor and all that kind of stuff, and then enter our guy Mr. Nobody, or what was his name? It was like John Nobody or something like that, Roddy McDowell's name was kind of stupid, but so you know what I mean. So it was that bit I wasn't down with. But I love the concept of, put on these glasses so you could see. I love the concept that, like, there are people who could see what's really going on, kind of like the conspiracy theorists, because they got the glasses on. And then there are the people who are asleep, and they can't see. So I love that whole metaphor, So that was pure genius.
I like the glasses, but I don't know if I really like the whole concept of, like, they know you got the glasses on.
Well, see, the thing about it is the stupidity is that these people or these aliens were supposed to be so, how should we say, so up their own arses that they didn't care, right?
Right.
So, like, but they had the watches, didn't they? So they go, he can see. We're not going to assume that all people with sunglasses can see, but he can see. Take me out. Beat me up, Scotty. That was kind of stupid.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, but
and because also too, the last thing is that I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the Meg Forster betrayal, right? Because first of all, the lovely Meg Forster, I mean, those eyes, stone blue, are gorgeous. She shoots my man Keith David in the head, but it's kind of like was she an alien or was she just taken over by the people? Like, was she just convinced that, you should be on our side? You see what I mean? And that's why I just said was, well, maybe the black people just weren't allowed to play in this game. So we saw enough of them. You know what I mean? Because it didn't make sense. She was just some random woman that he picked up. And I mean, even though that she was rich or successful, there was no indication. Well, he never looked at her with glasses, but there was no indication that she was an alien. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
her portrayal just made no sense. It just seemed like, oh, we're at the end, so we got to like do something here, So it's sloppy. Great concept, great film, but I think the ending was sloppy.
So what do you think about Roddy Piper?
I thought he did a really good job for a guy who can't act. You know what I mean? I mean, his delivery, I mean, look, that's one of my favorite lines in any movie is the bubblegum line. But it actually was, if you go further than that, it actually was kind of poor delivery, Papa don't like no turkey tails.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was. I think they were trying to do something different. We were getting the rise of Stallone and Schwarzenegger, weren't we? So even though Rowdy likes to pretend that he got his Scottish roots, he was still a TV wrestler.
Right, and also like I look at this movie now, and it's kind of definitely dated looking. You know what I mean? It's like
very
it reeks of like that late '80s. So it's like I look at him and go like, oh man, it's like he like Patrick Swayze, like he's got the white guy mullet.
Well,
or the
Billy Cyrus mullet.
Yeah. And it was like I don't know what possessed or took over like white guys back then, as especially like these kind of blue collar guys to get this mullet going.
Probably him.
Yeah, maybe or
you're our hero.
But he and the thing about him is that he just sort of he just like lumbered along. He's like he's just like got a stocky kind of body, and he kind of lumbered.
Yeah.
He did a lot of walking. He seemed to be like walking all the time, like not saying anything.
Now the thing about it is, what was that? I mean, because that was the director's choice, and like I agree. Like he really wanted to try and show that this guy was lost in the city. You know what I mean? Like he was from nowhere, going nowhere.
Yeah, but how much staring around and looking around can you do?
But that was what Carpenter was trying to show, that he didn't fit in. He really stood out, and it could have been like using a split diopter, or that kind of thing where like he was solid and the background wasn't, and everything. But that's, again, I don't buy how he got involved, because I can understand, okay, I see these people going into the church, something strange must be happening. But if my rule is don't get involved, why do I get involved?
But that's
what I mean?
Well, so he's sort of like this kind of playing this man with no name role, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is like, okay, so he shows up in the beginning and like, I'm looking for work. Yeah, I got my bag of tools. So he's some guy who probably did contracting work or construction, right?
Yeah.
And I can't figure out like, well, that's it. You don't really know anything else about this guy. So why is this guy so suspicious? Like you said before, like, there's something going on in that church. I need to investigate. Like I'm MacGyver.
Well, but they overdid it. Like, I mean, they really made themselves, they're in this homeless camp, and they really made themselves very obvious. So, right. I mean, he's curious. But I mean, like the only moment that was the hero moment for him really was when he had to save that kid, like when the cops was coming and he was trying to get them out of the building. But I mean, it was awkward, because even Charles, or I call him Charles, right? But Keith David knew, I'm sticking to my own, bro. I'm minding my own business. But then, that's why he had to have the long fight to force him in to the scenario. But because once you know, right? And that's the whole thing. Once you know. And I mean, so that I think is good and realistic. But I mean, listen, I love this movie. It's one of my faves, but if I had to pick it apart, that would be the thing. And you're right, he did lumber through it. And I think that he was looking for a Schwarzenegger or a Stallone type, which is why Wait a minute. Did you say who his other choices was for this character?
No, they never. And there were no other choices. It seemed like that. I couldn't find anything else.
I bet you there were. I mean, like the thing about it is that, like, he knew he wanted like just some random outsider character, but he went down the sports list because he couldn't get those guys.
Right.
There's no way I'm getting those guys. So who can we go? Sports, and wrestling was a big thing at the time. Thankfully it wasn't Triple H, but I don't think it was around. See, this is because Roddy Piper, he was in that in between wrestling, period. You know what I mean? Because like later on, you got the Stone Cold Austins and the Triple H's and all of that kind of stuff. And before that, you had the Bruno Sammartinos and the Ultimate Warriors and Andre the Giant. So in this middle period, you got Roddy Piper. You know what I mean? And he's never. This was his only thing. He lives and dies by this film. You know what I mean?
Do you think this is a movie that maybe 10, 12 years ago, if they remade it, The Rock would have been in?
Yeah. Well, even if they did a remake of this movie, you would do it with The Rock. Yes, definitely.
Right.
That would be your golden ticket. I think I heard at some point they were looking to make a remake of. They were looking to remake this film.
Dude, they've been looking to remake most of his films.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to say, I think this particular one, and even though I always say I don't like remakes, I'm not interested. I wouldn't mind looking at a remake of this film.
Right, and they've remade
everything I just said.
And they've remade The Fog, right? And they've remade
with Tom Welling, and they didn't need to do that, and it wasn't worth it.
And they remade The Thing, of course,
and as I said, to remind me of that. So the Thing remake was actually supposed to be like a side make. It wasn't a remake. It was like, so it was supposed to be the story. It was more of a prequel. It was the story of the Norwegians that first found the Thing in that ice cap. So it was all about that. And they had a girl in that camp, which was played by the lovely Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. So what are they going to do? How are they going to end this movie? And they did. They ended it with the helicopter pilot chasing the dog and everything, going to the other camp and stuff. So I was like, makes somewhat sense. But then again, it's like the way you fucked up this camp, though. It's like now the other helicopter pilots are going to come here and, they didn't bleed it together enough. But they could have, and they didn't. So,
and now they're talking about it looks like they might remake Escape from New York.
They remade that like about 20 times, bro.
Well, in different incarnations.
Yeah, different incarnations. But I mean, like, there's no. Please don't touch that. There's no touching of that. Dan might not like talking about that film, but that film was excellent.
No, I don't mind talking about it, just not these times.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but I'm just trying to say it does not need a remake. And the reason why it does not need a remake, because it already had a sequel, which was horrible, Escape from LA.
Yes, exactly.
That's why when you told me Escape from Mars, that would have been the trilogy.
Yeah.
That would have been the trilogy and stuff. And they just said, well, LA failed. So
we already jumped the shark with LA.
Yeah, sorry. I'll call it Ghost of Mars. Okay. So anyway, I know we probably went way over time on this one and everything.
Yeah, but you love John Carpenter, right?
I love John Carpenter. So hopefully you love John Carpenter, and this is acquired taste, I know, but please like, subscribe, share, and join the comments in the chat when it actually premieres. So I am Chase. That's my man Dan. It's time to put the movie back on the shelf. And then till next time, this has been us. And we just say keep watching.